Walter, can you lead us, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and those that are suffering with the conflict in the Middle East. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I would like to reconvene the town council budget hearings.
So moved.
I'd like to reconvene the Board of Finance budget hearing.
And I'd like to start off with public comment. Do we have anybody who'd like to address the joint meeting?
No public comments tonight.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with the registrar. I know we have Sandro and Chris for registrars. We could talk a little bit about the budget. That's page 106 in our budget books.
You have the slideshow up there?
Yes, sir.
I've done this before, so I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I made a slideshow. Is that, they have that up there?
Yep. Hey, Mike.
Sandro Carvalho.
Mike's going to help
Chris
you out,
Ludwig, 40 Railroad Street. Back there.
34 Jotham Road, sorry.
Who just called in?
Councilman Esposito.
Okay. Forward, backward, the red thing is a laser.
I'll get the slideshow, so.
I guess the laser's busted.
Womp womp. Oh, no, there it goes. Cool. Maybe that's fairly simple.
Not hearing any audio from the speakers.
Yeah, we haven't started yet.
Come on, Tom.
Sorry, I can see on the video they're standing and talking, even though they're not close enough to the microphone.
They're not talking.
Okay.
Now
Chris,
they are.
Sandro?
So obviously, our main budget increase is the new early voting. That's our big jump in personnel costs and some materials and like that, but mainly personnel. We have 4 extra days for the primary and another 14 days for the general election for this year. And then next year, the next election cycle, it's going to vary depending on what kind of primary it is. It can be up to 7 days. So, and the regular 14 one is always 14. So yeah, our budget's probably going to be fluctuating a lot. Up until well after we submitted our budget, the state was kind of going back and forth with how many personnel we're going to need for early voting like that. So we kind of had to guesstimate. By the time the elections come along, it'll probably be a little bit less. I hope.
Speak closer to the microphone, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the, otherwise it's things like extra ballots, extra signs we'll need for the early voting location, which is down in the Loretta Brickley Hall. So it's going to be interesting for the primary how that goes. What's the next one here? Voter canvas, that hasn't changed really. We do 3 to 4 each year is normal. Kind of like after each election, basically. Yeah, that's the personnel part of it. That's went up a bunch compared to previous years. But that will probably end up being lower in reality when the elections actually happen if we end up with less personnel. So that's basically calculated with the maximum regular poll location amount of people. And material and supplies went up a bunch, mainly because we have to print a lot more ballots. There's a big expense part of that.
And new signs.
And some more signs, and
Yeah.
technically a bunch of more mailings, so. So yeah, that's a big jump up. I don't remember what the number from last year is, I think. I don't know
We're
if
up
I printed out
about
that page.
19,314
Okay.
60 something last year.
from before, because you
Yeah.
had a little bit of a reduction in your material and supplies.
Yeah,
And just, Chris, for those that are watching tonight and those on the council, so they've moved up the primaries to now this year, April, I believe it is.
well, April 2nd is the
Yep.
general sorry, that's the presidential preference primary is April 2nd. That's just a regular election day, but the early voting days are March 26th, 27th, 28th, and the 30th. Because it's
And-
Good Friday and Easter Sunday are state holidays.
And for those that are, again, watching in town council, obviously that's this year's budget.
Yes.
This is
Yes,
unbudgeted.
technically this year's budget.
This is
primary.
unbudgeted numbers.
Yeah.
Is there grants gonna be available from the
We
Secretary
did get the
of State?
$10,000
We did get
grant.
it, yeah.
Yeah, we
Perfect.
just finally actually got the money.
Awesome.
I'm not sure yet if we're gonna spend it on personnel or ballots, because the ballots are about that price.
That's the highest, yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna end up going for one of those to offset that, so hopefully we won't have to, ask for more money, or too much more money.
Okay.
But yeah, that thankfully, I guess this year anyways, is gonna be dealt with
Right.
last year's.
And for this
budget.
presidential election, you had mentioned, we're gonna have one district, and that will be down at the Loretta Brickley Room.
Yes,
To start.
to start. I got a feeling if there's, there probably won't be high turnout for this primary, because, for various reasons. But the presidential, there probably will be. I got a feeling it's not gonna be able to deal with it. Just, even if we have a tiny turnout, but more than we would get for the primary, there's very little parking. It's a small room, so we probably will have to look at moving it.
Yeah, me and Chris have talked
Yeah.
about using John Pettibone for the November.
Yeah, the cafeteria or the gym, whichever logistically. The main thing is, right after, we would have to get started on that like immediately after this election because of the time window for, we have to
Installing.
request the network from Frontier, from the state, and that can take up to 6 months. So it's a very time-consuming process to get that part of it along with the legislative part. Because basically we're kind of be, I think it would be moving a district or adding a district. I'm not sure how it would be considered, but there's some,
I think what we could do is
Town
after
council stuff
this
involved with that.
primary, you can come back to the town council,
exactly.
and we
yeah.
can talk
We'll know
about
after
next
that.
steps when it comes to the
Yeah,
presidential.
and you guys will probably know if it's gonna be problematic, you'll know those 4 days, if it's gonna be a nightmare.
Yep.
So, and mainly for parking.
Yeah, we
it's-
do gonna need both sides of the roads and
Yeah,
some of the lot in the back available for those 4 days.
yeah. We might have to,
Gonna have to rent an officer probably for the 4 days.
possibly, yeah. Or
Yeah.
at least kind of tell them to kind of make increased patrols around the area or something to look for that. Otherwise, the only way I can see offsetting that is, talk to economic development, have them work with the town, with the local businesses and say, hey, have some dinner specials or something. So they don't feel so bad about all the parking being gone for 4 days, potentially.
So we'll circle back after the primary, kind
Yeah.
of reassess it and bring it back to the council.
Yep.
Excellent.
And it'll
Any-
be from 8 to 5 to the voting hours.
Oh, no, the early voting is
different?
10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah, they changed it
So-
again.
Okay.
10 to
It's not,
6.
yeah, it's not super crazy early or late, so that's not too bad, but it is right kind of in the busy time for downtown, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions concerning the budget for the registrars?
Chris?
Yes, Chris?
Yep,
And I didn't hear a lot of it, so am
Sorry.
assumption correct, the increase in elect person is due to early voting and the decrease in materials and supplies due to primary being moved into this fiscal year?
Yes.
yeah,
Got it, thank you.
that would be accurate, yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, guys.
That was easy.
Appreciate it very much.
That's easy.
Can somebody else call in? Is Tom and Chris on the phone?
Tom and Chris, are you both on the phone?
Yep.
Chris is still here.
Tom?
Thank you, guys.
I guess Tom's not there.
Lost Tom?
Okay, next is going to be the tax assessor. Brian? Page 82 on our books.
Okay, good evening, members of the Town Council and the Board of Finance. I'm
Can
Brian.
you lean in?
They're
That's
having
as
trouble.
high as it goes. Mike just added another. Which one do you want him to talk into, Mike? Both?
Chris, can you hear me from here?
Yep, I can hear you great.
Okay,
Oh.
so that means Chris is having problems with the microphone on the actual speakerphone. There's nothing I can do about that.
Thanks, Mike.
I'll try to
Brian?
talk, I'll try to talk
Thank
as
you.
loud as I can. I'm Brian Lastra, assessor for the town of New Milford, and I'm pleased to be here tonight to present the budget for the assessor's office. So most of the work we do involves or centers around the grand list. And as you probably know, about 78% of the town revenue comes from property taxes that are levied against the real estate, 13,500 parcels, 2,700 business accounts, and 28,000 motor vehicles. The office does generate a small amount of revenue in terms of copy fees, where people pay for copies of tax maps, survey maps, property record cards, or reports. So we generate about $300 that comes across the counter, 50 cents at a time, throughout the year. So we do generate a small amount of revenue through fees for copies. And then moving on to page 83 in your budget book, this is where you're going to see most of the accounts associated with my office in terms of expenditures. First of all, we have personnel. We run our office with a staff of 3. And the increase this year pretty much reflects contractual union negotiated increases, plus an increase for myself, the assessor. We budget $500 for overtime. We really haven't had to use that money over the last few years, or at least since I've been the assessor, but it is there in case there are things we need to get done in a timely fashion, almost like on an emergency basis. Property tax audits. These apply to our business personal property accounts. Each year, we select about 20 businesses at random to conduct audits of their accounting records. We conduct the audits in conformance with Connecticut general statutes, which basically means we compare, their accounting records and the assets that they hold to what they are actually declaring to us on the personal property declaration. So the audits generate tax revenue. For the grand list years of 22, 20, and 21, we generated around $30,000 in additional tax revenue based upon the audit. So the audit expense of $10,000 does pay for itself. Professional dues and training, we have membership dues that we pay to professional organizations that provide training and educational opportunities to myself and the staff. The CAAO, the Connecticut Association of Assessing Officers, they provide workshops and seminars for certification and continuing education. Our certified staff, we need to take continuing ed. We need to take 50 hours of continuing education once every 5 years. So this money helps pay for the seminars and workshops that we need to stay certified. Materials and expenses. This pertains to the printing of our grand list and other reports such as change of assessment notices, the personal property declaration forms that we mail out to businesses and so on. We pay to access the DMV records online. This helps us quite frequently with taxpayers who come in and have disposed of a vehicle and may not have proper paperwork. We can sometimes go to the DMV records and see that they've in fact sold a car to someone else, and then we can prorate their bill. We also subscribe to the National Automotive Dealers Association, J.D. Power. They provide the retail prices that we use to assess motor vehicles. And this represents pretty much the big increase here in this budget. It's gone up around $3,000 from last year, and that $3,000 increase is associated with the NADA and the fact that they are increasing our subscription on an annual basis. And then this budget item covers all other supplies, pens, paper, and so on. And then computer software, this is for what we call database cloud hosting. Our real estate information is, quote, in the cloud. It's maintained on servers outside of Boston, Massachusetts. This helps the town avoid the expense of paying to and upgrade our servers locally. So our data with respect to our real estate databases, again, is in the cloud. It also pays for what we call web hosting. So taxpayers, real estate professionals such as title searchers, appraisers, brokers, they don't have to come into the office to look up information on real estate property within the town. They can do it from their home or from their office. So we host all of our property information on the internet. And then finally, we pay licensing fees we have software systems for real estate and also for tax accounting, for maintaining property exemptions, property tax credits, ownership information. So we pay licensing and maintenance fees to companies in order to use the software. Oops. Okay, my last slide, moving on to page 89, we budget for tax rebates and refunds. Most of the refunds are associated with motor vehicle taxes, specifically leased for vehicles that are leased. We find that leasing companies are more concerned about paying the taxes in July as opposed to talking to us about vehicles that they may have sold and deserve credits. So they'll pay the bill and then they'll come to us after the fact and ask for refunds for vehicles that were sold or traded, what have you. So this has been kind of a moving target over the last few years for me because of the escalation in motor vehicle values. So based on my experience, hopefully this $115,000 will cover the refunds for next year. Then on page 91, you'll see I have a line item for assessor's legal. You may have talked about this last night when you were going over the legal budget for the town, but I have a line within the town's legal budget for litigation services related to property tax litigation. So when somebody files a suit concerning their assessment, this is the budget line item that takes care of defending the town. And then we have assessor's capital, two expenditures here on page 224. The first one is a sinking fund, if you will. We're required in Connecticut to do reassessments every 5 years, and we hire private consultants to help us with that work. So we've been putting away $50,000 per year over the last few years. With this $50,000, we'll have $173,000 in the fund for our next revaluation. And then, of course, next year we'll put another $50,000 away, and that should cover the cost of our 2025 state-mandated revaluation. And then our GIS mapping, this is another application that taxpayers and real estate professionals can use from their offices. So our tax maps are in a geographic information system. You can access these online. Obviously, we access this within the office. So we update our maps and we pay a company to do lot line revisions based on parcel subdivisions or merging of properties, and then any other changes to the maps concerning easement errors or resolution of boundary issues. So this money is used to pay the company that maintains our geographic information system, our tax maps. So that's pretty much my budget, and I'll entertain any questions that
Thank you.
anyone has.
Katie?
Yes, thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
First question on the GIS mapping. Is that something that residents, just like the vision, is that something that residents can access as well?
Yes, yeah, residents can access that. All they have to know is a property address, and they can look up, they can see our tax map concerning that. They can also overlay information such as aerial photography, zoning,
Okay.
floodplains, FEMA maps. So there's an opportunity to see not just the tax map, but other information beyond that.
And my second question is, how long do you think it'll be before your assessment technician will be able to take the test to be certified?
Yes, so the test's only offered once a year. Our association is trying to get the regulations, the state regulations changed, so they offer it more frequently, at least twice a year, but you will be able to take it in the fall.
Okay.
But it's been a big problem.
Yeah.
And
Well,
there's.
for all towns, not.
Yeah, for all
Yeah,
towns, because
right.
there's just not enough assessors. It's a profession that's kind of aging out, and I'm part of that, so.
Well, then you definitely need somebody to come after you. No, so anyway, your association or group, whatever.
Yeah, we're
is-
working with OPM. and-
Oh, good,
Yes,
good,
yeah,
okay.
to get the
Great.
regulations changed.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Brian.
questions for Brian?
Good.
Sal?
Brian, so the software that you guys have is in the cloud, correct, everything?
Yes,
Because they listed it here as a cloud service, then the software web hosting, which is one and the same. Cloud is a web hosting. And then they go with the vision software maintenance. I'm just asking, it's a bizarre way they actually itemize these things, to be honest with you.
right.
Because cloud is a cloud. They don't have to maintain things. They provide the software with the same service. I mean, they want to list it as such. Do you know if they are certified? If something happens and the data is leaked,
Yeah.
do you know if they're certified? They're gonna take the hit if town is being sued?
Yeah, that's something I should probably check with them. I'm not sure about that.
Let's check with them.
You know, if.
Because this can be much more than 38,000.
Yeah, there's been, right, there've been situations where data in the cloud has been, compromised, and companies have been held hostage.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, take a look at that one.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they itemize this is kind of bizarre, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just have to check that.
okay,
They'll take the hit. They have insurance in this.
yes.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Diane?
I just have a comment. I've used the tax map and it is superb. It's
Yeah.
easy to navigate. It's really well done and a great benefit to residents.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, there's other departments that require, like abutters, if you're in zoning and you need to get an abutters list, the GIS can do that for you.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank
Any
you.
other questions for Brian? All right, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome,
Thanks,
thank you.
Next is Nancy, tax collector. Nancy?
Good evening, Nancy McGavick, tax collector. So I like to keep it short and sweet. I collect based off of all of Brian's assessments. There is an increase of just under $10,000 for the budget. That's,
This is page
In-
85 for everybody?
oh yeah. Due to increase in personnel lines. And then the other increase is in materials and supplies. All other lines have stayed at zero increase. There's an increase with the printing and processing and the postage of all the tax bills, so that accounts for the increase in the materials and supplies.
Any questions for Nancy? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Nancy. Next is Greg. Greg, personnel.
Page 95.
That's page 95 for everybody.
Good evening, everybody. So for those that don't know me, I'm Greg Bolero. I'm the Personnel Director for the town. Personnel Department is responsible for all the human resource activities for all town departments with the exception of the Board of Ed. So Police Department, Sewer, Library, Ambulance, Public Works, you name it, that's our responsibility. Some of the key responsibilities include recruitment, benefit administration, pension, workers' compensation administration and reporting, employee relations, contract negotiation and administration, training, employee onboarding, offboarding, employee discipline, state and federal compliance tracking and reporting, and much, much more. What is this? Hello? Technology. Is the battery go?
Forward and back.
Okay.
The easiest way I can get you.
Chris, they're not talking in case
No,
you
this is
don't
fine.
hear anything.
Okay, so the Personnel Department. Got
You
it.
get nervous.
Right. The Personnel Department is a staff of 2.5. You've got myself as the Personnel Director and my assistant, Diane. We split our office coordinator, Marcin Stankovic, with the fire marshal. He also serves as a floater to provide clerical support for departments that are having long-term absences. Nominal increase in the personnel line. You see we kept the additional hours for special projects flat. We do Saturday orientations for the part-time seasonal lifeguards and the camp counselors. We introduced that last year. It's been very, very effective. We can do 20 orientations in about an hour, and it's worked out very, very well. Small budget. You'll see we tried to keep it as low as we possibly could. We reduced the tuition reimbursement down to $6,000. We kept our recruitment expense flat. We kept the drug and alcohol testing. We were able to reduce that by $100. Safety committee expenses kept flat at $500, and our training and development we're keeping flat at $3,000. The main driver increase is our material and supplies, and it's really just one massive expense. So a couple of years ago, we went from paper time cards to electronic time cards. That system, NovaTime, has reached end of life from support. So we are being forced into a new system, which means we have to buy all new time clocks. So it's a big expense this year, but I do expect for this expense to come off next year. So it's a one-time hit, but a big hit for this year. And the other driving expenses under our employee assistance program. EAP is really a wellness benefit for all employees. That's a nominal increase, but the other driver in there, we've got an aging workforce, as Brian had indicated, but we provide individualized retirement plaques for our employees, and we also have an Employee of the Month program that we utilize. These monies support those programs. And that's really it for the personnel budget. It's a total of $265,178.
Any questions for Greg and personnel?
I have one quick one. How are the wellness awards going?
The wellness awards are going well.
So, I mean, people are working to stay healthy, et cetera, et cetera.
So we've got a few different programs. So under the EAP, we've had over 240 hits this fiscal year alone.
Meaning?
With that. Meaning we've had employees utilizing counseling, we've had employees that have
Oh,
taken
241 different episodes.
services that have been used.
Got it.
So what, it is confidential for employees, so they won't tell us who exactly is utilizing it.
241.
But we know that
Okay.
over 240 hits to the program, and they have different trainings that are there. They've got wellness coaching, they've got financial coaching, there's access to legal advice, they can do elder care and wills. There's a lot of different resources through that EAP program.
That's a very good program.
And it's available to all employees and their families.
Everybody.
Yes.
Diane?
Oh, thank you. Just wondering what the estimated time frame of the new clock system.
The new clock system, it'll be
Yeah,
this fall.
What about the lifespan of it?
So the great question. So we've asked the same thing. They've guaranteed us a minimum 5 years.
That's all. Wow, I would think it would be digital.
So it is
What?
digital, but with time clocks and with all technology, there's advancements that come along to it. So they'll guarantee it.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't mean that it's going to be end of life at that point, but they're guaranteeing us this for 5 years.
Wow, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Alex?
What about absenteeism? Have you seen less since you've put in some of the wellness programs, or have you seen a change, or?
So I haven't really seen a massive change. I think the bigger change that we saw when we went from paper time cards to the electronic time cards, with the accountability and the transparency there, that's where we saw the biggest change in behavior.
Okay, so are we okay with absenteeism? Is it a decent number, or are you concerned?
The mayor and I have been working on this. I would say our absenteeism from a sick perspective is down. But utilizing benefit time in a responsible manner is something that we're working on with all of our department heads. We have very good attendance, and I'm very happy with the productivity of the employees. I just think that different procedures can be put in place to make sure that the productivity remains.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next are the fire departments, fire chiefs for Gaylordsville, Northville, and Waterwich. Start on page 122. 122.
Fancy blue shirt.
And Chief Tyler is with Gaylordsville.
Yes. Hello, my name's Tyler Bergman. I'm the Fire Chief of Gaylordsville Fire Department. This year's budget we've submitted is a 9% decrease from last year. Our budget this year is for 2014, $214,000 to be 74. Major items that we've for this particular budget cycle are we're replacing our rope rescue gear, and we're further expanding our communications capabilities. Last year, we were fortunate to receive the money that we received and able to expand or replace our extrication equipment, and that's what we're similarly doing with our rope rescue equipment, is trying to bring it up to date.
Chris, can you
Chief-
hear it?
Not very well.
What would you like me to say?
Oh, no, it's just the next person.
Chief Tyler, and then I'll ask all the other chiefs as well. With the approval of the town council, Board of Finance, and then obviously the town meetings, how impactful to the budget and then to your programs have been the American Relief Funds?
They've been very impactful from the Gaylordsville aspect of it. Is communications-wise, is we're able, even though we continue to work on it, is we're able to utilize it for mutual aid, not only to going into New York, but also supporting our adjacent communities such as Sherman and Kent. And as the weather permits, is people are using more and more our river and the trails.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief?
We also received our iPads through the ARPA funds, which helped us for our apparatus, so we knew what we were responding to. It shows what the house layout is and hazardous conditions, so that was another thing that ARPA funds helped us out with.
Mary Jane and then Walter. Mary Jane?
Question. I saw that under Waterwich, they have cancer screening, and you don't have it listed for your fire department. Is there a reason why you're not doing cancer screening?
Well, we do have it. It's included under our physicals,
Okay,
so we do offer that on an annual basis.
okay. So I was just concerned because of the PFAS concern about in the turnout equipment. And I saw, I think I read in the paper that Norwalk had lost like 2 or 3 young firefighters as a result of the turnout gear and the PFAS being close to the body, being absorbed through the skin. So what, have you changed your turnout gear so that it doesn't have the PFAS in it? What?
I think it's an evolving topic, is that there's no easy answer for it, because the gear that we have, there's no necessarily, if you switch to this manufacturer, you're good to go. I think it's constantly evolving, and the manufacturers are trying to do the research and development to see if they can better address it. Unfortunately, is the nature of our business, unfortunately, is hazardous, and some of the protection that we utilize also, as it turns out, could have a factor on our health.
It isn't the material that they build our firefighting equipment with. However, we do wash and sanitize all our stuff to try and prevent as much of it as we can. We are in that field.
So, in 18 to 24 months, OSHA is going to come out with, it's going to be mandatory for every fire department to have a cancer screening for every member. So, we were ahead of the game doing it ourselves.
So
I was just worried because I didn't see it actually listed. I was just
Walter?
Yeah, all
concerned.
3 departments are doing it as
Okay.
well. I actually got stuck for the second time tonight because FedEx dropped the ball and didn't get our blood delivered.
Sorry.
Walter?
Chief, I'm just curious, from your previous variance from your previous budget, 2024. 2024, you had 238. Now the department entry is 214. That's a $24,000 difference.
So why is the difference? Because the difference is we're trying to be fiscally responsible, and a big part of our budget last year was replacing our 30-year-old extrication equipment.
Okay.
And the extrication equipment cost us, I think, roughly $68,000. We had in our budget $55,000, I believe. So that was a big part of our budget last year. And we sat down this budget cycle, and as all departments do, we sharpened our pencils to figure out where we might be able to delay some projects or expand the project over multiple years.
Well, I was also curious about your radios. 3,000, 2024, 2025, 28,000.
Right. So our communications, even though through ARPA funds we were able to broaden our communications capabilities greatly, there's we've also had instances where we cannot track our people. For example, along Route 7, it's based on the topography. It's based on the interoperability between different organizations, and there's use of throughout the state of the 800 megahertz spectrum. We're looking to utilize that, so that's where the money is going. We're looking to further improve something that is vital to our department and all departments.
Yeah, don't misunderstand me. I'm a big fan of the volunteer fire department. If we had to pay the fire department full-time, people would be screaming. The mayor would have to lock himself behind some kind of barrier. But I was just curious. And then building maintenance. You went down, building ground maintenance and operations. You went down 10,000.
Yes. So part of the going down part of it is last year we replaced our in-ground oil tank, and we budgeted $15,000. Presently, we're up to probably about $30,000 to $40,000 for that project. So that's the town graciously gave us $15,000. We're coming up with the rest of it, and
God bless. I'm glad you're volunteers.
And unfortunately, during the project is one of our fears, so to speak, was that it was leaking, and it was leaking. And unfortunately, there is a cost associated with removal of dirt and disposing of it that's been contaminated.
Thank you.
All right. Alex?
Interesting numbers on electric. You've got Lanesville substation going down a lot and Northville going up a lot in electric in that line. Do we know why?
Who was going down?
No, you guys went up, they went down.
Lanes? Did you say Lanesville?
Lanesville
I don't think there's
substation.
anybody here from Lanesville, but,
Big drop.
What went down?
Electric.
Their budget
Yeah.
or the electric budget?
Electric
Oh,
budget.
electric budget.
Don't know why?
Probably
It's
they
just
changed all
interesting.
the light bulbs over.
Yeah.
It's a town building,
Who
so
gets-
I
who
think
gets
the town
something-
went through and upgraded.
Who gets something for less? An electric, I don't know, it's just, but then Northville jumped.
Yeah. The Lanesville's a town building, so that could be part of our energy
Oh,
systems that we've done to try and reduce the energy, but I'll
Okay.
ask the trustees there.
yeah, and then Northville
For that?
really went up.
Yep, and Northville is its own firehouse. And the chief is here, he can talk about electric.
Because for the 24 budget, it was 9,500, and you're asking 12,500.
Our electric went up
A lot.
bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Russ Coyle, Chief of Northville Fire.
Any other
We had
questions?
a couple of increases in our budget, electric being one, equipment being the other, and our insurance. Our insurance, we upped our death benefit package, so there's a bit of an increase with that.
Alex?
And then, there are folks who live in town who are served by primarily Water Witch, right? But they also pay into a fee if they live, is it close to a hydrant?
So
There's a
the-
fire district.
Yeah, that's a fire
Right.
district,
Which
which
is
is
in the center
the
of
Milford Fire Association, which is totally different from Water Witch Fire Department.
So you all have nothing to do with the hydrants, or you do? You do, you don't?
We do not.
Okay, just want to clarify that. It was, okay.
Any other, Walter?
Another curiosity, Lanesville substation, whatever happened to the abandoned artesian well?
They upgraded it to a newer well, to a different area for a different pump system. Town, once again, they took care of that also.
We took care of that already, Walter.
They switched
Yeah,
it over to
okay,
town
yes,
water, that's
good
what,
call.
that's right. They switched it over to town water. So no more well.
What's the lunar system?
That's for locating firemen, either out in the woods or in a building. We use it a lot for rescues out in the woods, so you know where everybody is, so you know where your fire personnel is at all times. Because a lot of times you don't have a radio that you can
It's a
communicate.
GPS tracking device.
Basically, it's
basically.
GPS.
One,
yes.
one of the beauties of the lunar system is it's like a tracking device. Is that if you have one and I have one, I can get within, like right on top of you, it points me in the direction. It's almost like you might say like a metal detector to trying to find you.
Okay.
Because if I have one and it's programmed, I have they're linked.
Right.
Which they all of them are linked, is we can find you if something was to occur.
Okay, one more question, because I'm old and forget a lot of things. Active aggressor equipment.
So was Water Witch's upgrade this year. That's the reason for our increase, is we're trying to do an active shooter response through the fire department in case we're called to help the police department. So that covers equipment for us, vests and helmets, so that way our personnel are safe if we go in to help the police department during an active shooter event.
Works for me.
So we're training right now for that.
Thank you.
And
Hopefully it never happens, but
And what's
we're
great,
really ready for it.
what's great, Walter, is the fire departments, New Milford Ambulance, and Chief Cerruto and the Milford Police Department, in tandem with other departments, have all been working together when it comes to active shooter, a mass casualty situation, road accidents. They've been preparing, and this is part of their, when they're looking at standard operation procedures, this is part of what they found to be an enhancement to help, God forbid, we get into an event like that.
Works for me. Yeah.
Katie?
So, I have a question for all of you. Approximately how many volunteers do you have at Water Witch? Just rough.
Active or just personnel that
Well, those
help
that-
out everything?
Yeah,
About
if they're a
50 about
volunteer.
54.
How many?
54 active.
And how many do you have there?
We have 42 on the books, roughly 25 are able to actually hit the road and in the fire police capability.
But those 42, they're doing something.
Yes.
You know, supporting.
They're contributing. They're not sitting home and.
Right. Like me. How about you?
We're probably around the 45 range.
Okay,
We also have a outstanding junior membership program.
yes, you do.
That's, we probably have 10 active juniors in that.
Right.
Which is great because we send them to training, and then when they turn 18, they can be a full-fledged member, and they're already have
That's right.
training to know what's going on, so
Right.
the rest of it is a lot easier for them.
So you have about, just the three of you there, you have about 150 volunteers, and the average age is, I don't want to know that. Because the reason I'm asking you this is that I was already brought up that if we had to pay for what you guys do and your volunteers do, you know, it would be sky high, and we know that. Just curious, do you feel good about the people that come forward, you know, younger people? You have the cadet program and, or whatever you call it. Do you feel comfortable that that's going to be enough going forward, or should we be sitting here thinking that in 5 years we're going to have to pay people to fight our fires? Can't do it forever.
That's a tough one to answer.
To predict.
Because
Well, you don't
of
have to answer it so
The
much,
younger
but-
generation, it depends on whether they're able to afford to stay here.
Okay,
Really.
good point.
So
Yeah.
we average 1 to 2 new members that join the company every year, just average.
Okay, that's good.
So
Tyler,
we're
what about
hoping that we
you?
never go paid, because we like helping the town and we like keeping the
course.
taxes down, and
Right.
we're doing our best to.
Oh, I agree.
So we went to an all-call system, so anything major, all 3 departments get called
Right.
automatic. So if something big, you have 150 personnel coming at you.
Well, right, and aren't we
So-
lucky?
So
Tyler, what do you think about your incoming new people?
I think, to answer your question, there's an associated cost, be it monetarily or time-wise, that you need to consider. I think there's also, you need to consider what your level of expectation is and what level of service. And
Right.
your expectations and the level of service is what you need to evaluate.
Yeah, it's a lot of training, yeah.
There's a
Well,
lot
I-
of training involved, cost-wise,
Yeah.
and time. Time,
Right.
one of the biggest factors now.
Well, I just wanted to have you say that out loud so that not only the council and the Board of Finance, but people who watch these videos, if they haven't already thought of it, because you know, we have a volunteer fire department forever, right? It's been here. And I don't want people to get too complacent about that.
Alex?
Thank you.
How much time does it take to train a new firefighter? Assuming they're successful in their training. 120 hours?
Just for fire
Just for
department
fire
alone.
one is 120 hours.
Plus our weekly training. on
That's
top
what
of
you
that.
need to be an interior firefighter.
Right.
So that's just the basics, and then there's multiple trainings ongoing after that.
But if we take out a new recruit, we make sure they come around for a while before we spend the money on the training. Because right now it's roughly $1,500 to $1,800 to send this person through a
Yes,
class. And it's close to $6,000 for equipment. That's boots, jacket, helmet, gloves, all the protective gear is roughly around $6,000. So.
And Chief, kind of staying on that same thread with the training, with the American Relief Funds, you guys are getting a burn building, which you already have, which will be put up. How is that going to help with the departments as far as your training of both people that are already in the fire department and new recruits?
That's going to improve our training a lot, because right now we have to either go all the way up to Torrington, the Litchfield County Fire School, or we have to use the Danbury burn building for live burn. So that's a lot of traveling for our vehicles. Once the unit is up here, the 3 departments can pick a Wednesday night, once a month maybe more, maybe less, and we can do all kinds of training there. We can do rappelling off of it, we could do search and rescue, we're going to have live burn in there. So it's going to be a huge impact for us, very, very, very valuable asset. We had an older burn building down behind KC. We weren't allowed to do live burn in it, so we used a smoke machine, but the atmosphere is totally different. When you go into a smoky situation versus a super hot situation, your breathing's different. So it's gonna help us, and the more training we do together, the more familiar we get to get used to each other, and faster to put out fire, faster to rescue.
I'm going to have to defer to Walter in just a moment, but my last question for right now, too, kind of stays on the same vein. So we had conjecture from some people that American relief funds were like for wants. You know, they were like toys
Instead of needs?
instead of needs. So my question to the 3 fire departments, for those that are here and those that are watching on TV, would those items, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars, would they be in this year's budget?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially the iPads. We got, what do you call it, extrication gear, equipment out of it. It valued our department very well. You guys got radios, right?
I think, to answer your question, Mr. Mayor, yes, at some point you would see that, because we need to use the term tip of the spear, is we want to be as much into 2024 and plan not only for now in 2024, but for the future. So by getting the ARPA funds, having the burn building, the radios, water rescue equipment, gear washers, it's tremendous benefit.
Thank you. Walter?
Going back to the burn building, is that available for other towns to use as training? And if
No.
so, do we charge? No, it's strictly New Milford?
No, just the 3 departments, but we could have, like, say Sherman come down, because they come in and help us.
Okay.
And Washington comes down to help Northville. If Northville's training there, they can have Washington come down and train with them, because we go to other towns also.
So it's basically the ones that you do help each other out?
Mutual aid.
Mutual aid, yes,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have.
Alex?
Yeah, this is great information. Lots of numbers. Is this available to people, some of this information beyond this video? Yeah, I know you said you would be posting some things. Well, the numbers are here, but the explanations, and definitely not how many volunteers, et cetera.
So what's great, Alex, is you've got Mike Sinello, he's recording today's video. Those videos, you can replay them. They're on the town website, so you can actually hear verbatim what we're talking about tonight.
I was just wishing there were a way for people to access the information without watching
They can go right on the website, and actually, this book that we are all using today, right on the website.
That's the dollars and cents. What you guys speak to is what I want people to have more access to.
I think it's
Because
New Milford YouTube, right, Mike?
Not just the videos, I think people need to know more about what you do. Because
they just said it.
Anybody can stop by our houses at any time they want and ask.
What's your address?
You know.
Stop
me?
by your house.
No, our
I know,
fire
I know.
headquarters.
Firehouse.
And
I know.
see where your tax money goes. Walk around, look at the apparatus.
Great.
You know?
Good.
And talk to some of the people.
We were hoping to have Fire Prevention Day this year.
Yeah.
And all the departments go down there, the fire marshal goes down there, and we do our thing down there, and people show up and ask us questions all the time. They ask us questions about our equipment, so it.
Unfortunately, Mother Nature didn't cooperate.
Yeah, rain us out and
I
stuff.
know.
So it does get out there, not as much as we'd like, but.
And there's, not only that event, but there's also other community events that we participate in to show off, I'll use that term, of what the New Milford tax dollars are actually paying for and what services are being provided. We offer tours. None of us is going to deny anyone to stop in. Hey, can you show us around? What do you got?
Doors always.
It actually gives a sense of pride, and also it gives a sense of pride, kind of like to show up. Look what we can do. Is like in Gailersville, we have medical capability. We have, if you have an incident in the river, we can take care of that. You get stuck on a trail. This is all the equipment that we have to serve you.
We do a lot of schools, school safety, and believe it or not, it gets back to the parents, and which is a good thing. So it goes a long way.
Mayor?
And I also want to thank you for your responsible budget. Thank you very much. Appreciate the
Mayor?
effort.
Thank you. Chiefs, like to know if you guys have any problems finding places because of misidentification. In other words, you get a call and you don't know where it is. I mean, you do, but you don't. So are there any problems like that where you could get better numbering for the homes?
We used to have problems, but now with the iPads, it has the GPS, it shows the call, you click on it, and it brings you right to their address. But it is nice to have numbers on houses, which people don't do a lot of times.
I think you bring up a very good point, even though it's one of the things that has evolved in the community, is numbering your house and your driveways and such, and those that are present and those that are watching, is take a look outside, see if you have a number on your house.
Mailbox.
And think not only on your mailbox, to think that maybe someday you might need emergency services. It's not only to get your mail, but emergency service wise, help us help you by finding.
But there's nothing that's consistent, if that's what you're asking, because even if they have their house number on the front of their house and their driveway is 500 feet long, you're not gonna see the number on the house.
That's
So
what
I
I'm
think
asking.
where you were headed is, there's something at the end of the driveway or something that could be created. There are towns that do that. You'll drive by and you'll see a green sign at the end of everybody's driveway. We do not have that here in Milford, but maybe at some point it would be a good idea to look into that.
Brookfield does it.
Sir.
Thank you.
Diane?
Thank you. So the ambulance squad, a couple years ago, did just that. They did a fundraiser with the green signs for the mailbox. I bought one, and someone came to my door one day to talk about, I think it was maybe a fundraiser or something, and said that without that green sign on my mailbox, she would not have known my house number, because my house is kind of behind foliage and very hard to see. It really should be done again. It was a great fundraiser. I had a lot of neighbors talk to me about, where'd you get that thing? That's fantastic. So I just wanted to say that. Should really do it again. And or maybe the fire departments could do it as well. But I was just wanted to say also that, Mayor Bass posted, every day he talks about where the various town departments are working during the day, the tree crews and the DPW and whatever. And today he happened to mention that they were recharging fire extinguishers. And I thought, what, is that a thing? And so my fire extinguishers, I think I have 4 in my house, are like 10 years old. Never had to use one, fortunately, but I thought, is that really something that I should do? So I put something on Facebook, is this a thing? And sure enough, I was told that, pretty much every 6 years or so, you should have your fire extinguishers recharged. Who knew? So thank you for putting that out there.
Thank you,
And that's really good information for people to have. That's right. I was shocked.
Actually, more along the line is you should have your fire extinguisher evaluated on an annual basis.
Annual.
Yes. But then probably what you have in your home is one that's like a residential one, and you should probably, based off manufacturer's recommendation, which is probably you're saying, and you really can't recharge those ones.
Oh, okay. So you had to purchase
So
new ones about every year?
The recharging ones, or I should probably know this, right? Because my business is the ones that you see commercially or in town buildings. Those are the ones that can be recharged.
I see.
And they have
So
a green thing that's good, like a green spot.
are the cheapo residential ones only good for about a year?
I would say that based on manufacturer's instructions, probably what you're saying, the 5 to 6 years is what's recognized, but doesn't necessarily mean is after that time period, even though it might be in the green, there's no guarantees. Based
Okay.
And you don't test them and then put it back on the wall.
No, I wouldn't think so, yeah.
Do it outside.
Any other questions for the chiefs? Thank you, chiefs. Please, thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you for your service.
Wait, Chris has a question.
Yep. Sorry. So, want to comment. So, first of all, thank you, chiefs, and all the men and women behind you in the fire department for everything they do. You do a lot for us, and I appreciate it. And my question is kind of along the lines, I think, where the mayor was on ARPA funds. I guess mine is more specific. Obviously, we directed a fair amount to you guys for needed equipment, and I know, Chief, I think you mentioned fiscal responsibility before, and I know that's always at the top of what you guys are thinking about, and I appreciate that, but I think a lot of what we did on ARPA funds was for the safety of fire personnel and our citizens. Would it be safe to say, and I think we, even aside from the bird bill, throw that aside, that was 400 some thousand. I think in terms of additional equipment, there's another 400K. And I know some of that needs were probably brought forward, but would it be safe to say that, you came in with a flat budget this year? Would it be safe to say that if it weren't for the ARPA funds, you might needed an increase of 100K this year? Would that be crazy to assume that?
That's not crazy to say, at least from the Gainesville end of it, is one of the projects that we were looking at for communications. It was probably not a number that the Board of Finance and the town would like, so we looked at it, evaluated it, and figured we might be able to spread it out over multiple years.
For Water Witch, it was 33% decrease, a total of $319,000 we saved going through the ARPA funds. So that would have been a big hit for the town.
Alex?
Great, thank you.
I'm just a little concerned because the ARPA funds were meant to assist with things we needed as a result of COVID. And they were not to purchase things that would normally be put in the budget, in a regular
Alex,
budget.
you're dead wrong. Read what the ARPA funds were available for, and they were available for all sorts of things.
I agree with you,
Which
but
includes helping our fire department.
No
Because they
question.
were the ones, I can tell you firsthand, they were the ones that helped tremendously during COVID.
may I finish, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But to put
Yes.
out a false narrative, I disagree with you.
I'm not done. We were not supposed to be buying things that would be normally in the budget. We were supposed to be buying things that our systems need to maintain. And what we heard during presentations, especially from the ambulance crew, how many more things they had to do in order to reach each person who was called and how many more calls they had. That's what we were taking care of, is all the additional work that those departments had to do as a result of what COVID did to not only keeping people at home, but also the extra care, every time they go out, all the extra care they had to do. So I would just caution that the ARPA funds were used for things that were necessary as a result of, and not supplanting the budget. Because if you're buying things that you would normally have budgeted for, then you are misusing the funds.
Okay, so, Alex, I 100,000% disagree with you. Our auditors, again, we went through all of these, and our auditors applauded us for this. Okay, number one. Number two, we went through an arduous task that most other municipalities never did. Okay? We went through a town meeting. We went through we went through the town council. We went through the Board of Ed. And these funds were supposed to, when you read the articles of ARPA, sustain, stabilize, and move forward communities. And that's exactly what these did. So to say a preface that we didn't follow ARPA correctly,
No.
I
Just being
1,000%
cautious.
disagree with you.
I'm being cautious because it was to take care of the departments in particular that had to take extra care as a result of COVID. And we should thank President Biden for the money.
It's going to be done this year. Thank you. Okay.
Nope.
Any other questions for our fire chiefs? Thank you, and chiefs, thank you, and men and women, and all you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All of you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next is the New Milford ambulance. Anna.
140,
I'm sorry, 141.
141.
I'll let you get to your pages. Shouldn't say Dave.
Okay?
Good
Donna?
evening. My name is Donna Hespy. I'm president of the nonprofit volunteer organization Milford Community Ambulance. We are now in our 95th year of existence. We have a total of 4 ambulances. 3 are sprinters, 1's a box ambulance. We have 1 ALS fly car, it's a Ford Explorer. We have 2 paid crews on 24 hours a day. During the day, we have the 2 crews on. 1 is a BLS, 1 is an ALS. We also have a medic on that's on for 12 hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We no longer are affiliated with the Medic 4 program, which we had going back to 1994, I think. Last year, in July 1st, we started our own program. It has been a huge success. It far exceeded our expectations. It was a change. We were pretty sure it was going to work out good, but it turned out to be even better. The medic's available to take third calls without us needing to go for mutual aid. The medic is usually the first on scene, and they can size up the scene, if you will, call for help, whether it's a fire department, other ambulances, whatever else is required. During the day, we can make up our own third ambulance now using this medic and using our operations manager, Arnie, arriving with the third ambulance. It's been a great bonus to our organization and to the town. We still provide mutual aid assistance to our surrounding towns when requested. In addition, here's an example. Sherman Ambulance, they just borrowed one of our ambulances because theirs had a transmission problem. They were down for several weeks. Just because we're not in the mutual aid program doesn't mean that it's not business as usual with our neighbors. Our budget this year reflects the changes in our staffing. During the past several years, starting with COVID, several things changed. We lost many of our volunteer crews. People are not returning to volunteer and to fill those spots. We had to get more and more paid staffing to cover our town. Our call volume's gone up. We're now well over 3,000 calls. And I only anticipate it going up and more than ever before because we've got so much increased housing coming to our town. More people, more calls. We were very fortunate in the past, for at least 2 years that we had funding come to us in the way of ARPA funds, surplus funds, CARES, United Way, and even donations. Those extra funds we received are now used up, and we now are looking at the actual cost. We bill, we collect. Our collections are not even half of what we actually bill. Why? Because many of our town residents are elderly. Many are on Medicare, Medicaid. Those two make up approximately 63% of our billing. Here's an example. The state says whether you are commercial, volunteer, whatever, you can bill, say, for a regular, I call it run-of-the-mill ambulance call. It's someone's sick, has called for an ambulance. The state says that we can bill $960 for that. That is, we can't change it. We can't go lower, we can't go higher, and that goes for the other towns also. But the $960, Medicare only pays $464. Then you have Medicaid, they only pay $293. A call with a medic, the state says you can bill $1,500. Again, Medicare only pays $551, Medicaid pays $349. It always puts us behind. At 11 months in 2023, we billed $2,250,218, and we collected 45%, which was just over $1 million. We have to staff for what might happen each day. Sometimes we have days where we have 17 calls. Others, we get maybe 3. On average, we do about 9 calls. We get calls for standbys. We get them for cardiac arrests, lift assists, drug overdose, strokes, help me, I've fallen, I don't feel good, nursing home calls, tick bites, intoxication. In our regular expenses, we only increased 27,000. It was insurance, which has gone sky high, vehicle repair. utilities, medical supplies, which we're using a lot more of, and our facility repair, maintenance, and the preventive maintenance on our equipment. We tried to stay as lean as we could. We're in the process of applying to the state right now to be able to add another medic or another one of our ALS fly cars. It'll be a new Tahoe. Our current one is the 2017 Ford Explorer, which has worked out fabulously well. And we realize we need another car for the simple reason that if that one needs transmission work or any type of work, we have a medic without a car to ride in, okay? They have all the ALS equipment that needs to be in it, from Lucas to the LifePak 15s to you name it. So we have applied to the state. We're in the process of doing it right now. We need to keep that medic on the road. We've saved up in our capital reserve. I don't know, the names always change, but we were able to take the money out of there and pay for the car. So we're not looking for money for that whatsoever. EMS is changing almost faster than we can keep up. National, statewide, there's a shortage of EMS staff. Decreased enrollment for paramedics and EMT courses, increasing call volumes across the state, huge supply chain issues and increases. I'll just stick this one in here. Just recently, we've learned if you need to purchase a new ambulance and you want one of the larger truck ones, the box ones as we call them, it could be anywhere from 2 years, 30 months before you might be able to get that. We're very fortunate we got our new Sprinters when we did, and Sprinters are a little bit, we've chosen to go with the smaller vehicle. It's better in our lake communities. We can get around much easier. And we're just very fortunate that we were able to get them. So we're sitting okay, because some of the other towns are hurting. They need new vehicles and are going, what do you mean it's going to take 30 months or 36 years? And they've got a vehicle that's not working right. We're becoming more and more of an arm of social service. We have falls at 4 a.m. We have lift assist. Nobody else to call. So they call us. We're 911. Behavioral health issues in population is definitely on the rise. We get diverted to Danbury Hospital a lot more than we have in the past. It puts additional wear and tear on our vehicles, and it also keeps our crews out of town even more, which makes it a little bit harder again. As always, I can't thank you enough for letting me present our budget and listening and letting me explain all of our concerns. It's been a very exciting time in our organization, seeing all the hard work that we put into it, and it makes our ambulance and the service provide outstanding and very professional care to the residents of our town, and I really appreciate that.
And thank you, Donna, and obviously thank you. You and the leadership are volunteer. And you've been doing it for many, many years, and the town can't thank you enough for that, and continue to thank you.
Thank you.
We have Arnie, that's our operations manager, that through American Relief Funds has been able to help. Can you kind of talk first about how Arnie's been able to help the organization?
Well, Arnie, I would call him, I don't know if he wants to be considered that, but he's kind of my right-hand man for sure. I'm really overloaded. There's so many things going. Today I was dealing with certificates of insurance to be able to sign a bundle billing agreement. We're dealing with, there's just constant, every day, a million things. And it's been such a relief that I've been able to say, Arnie, Arnie's been dealing with the vehicles, repair, maintenance, keeping them. I mean, before we used to have our 2 ambulances. We're now up to, we have 4 ambulances in a fly car. That's a lot of maintenance, a lot of tires, a lot of repairs. Things aren't working. They've got to be fixed right away, followed up. Arnie's excellent in anything to do with IT. He's really improved us. We can unlock our doors and lock our doors now, thanks to him. Before it was like, wow, that was like, he's just done, it's amazing what he's been able to add.
And Donna, if you could kind of talk to the councils, the chiefs had done too, when it calls to mutual service. Are we still offering mutual service to our sister towns that surround us?
Yeah, like I said, you're referring to, do we still do?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely we do. I can't remember the exact number, but like last year alone, Sherman, we did 44 calls to Sherman alone. They called us, they needed help, they could not get a crew out.
And as you and I have talked, smaller towns are actually in a more tenuous position than
They are.
we are.
They are.
Because obviously we have the wherewithal and the bandwidth with our vehicles, our housing, the ambulance barn, kind of foresight with that,
Yep.
to be able to really move into where
Yeah.
this service is going, correct?
Some of the smaller towns, and I'm going to say it like it is, they think, no, we can do it, we've got it, but they don't realize, and I'd like to say pat ourselves on the back, because we looked at it and said, you know what, we don't want to get caught there, we don't want to. So we've been ahead of it. And we still are, whether it's our equipment that we keep. I mean, we were the first one in the whole area that had some of the equipment. We have vents. I mean, no one else had them. I mean, the hospital, first time we went up to the ER and we had someone on an actual portable vent.
And
they were
Donna, we
like,
got that from
wow.
American Relief Funds,
And
correct?
that came through ARPA funds. We were able to replace a lot of our aging equipment, which was going to be coming up and was going to be a real.
And Donna, the majority, as you said, the bulk of your increase happens to do with personnel.
Yes.
That's people riding the bus.
Yeah.
Someone, God forbid, has a heart attack or some kind of medical issue. That's what this money's going to, correct?
Yes.
So my question I pose to you is, we've had some people already come here and tell us that they want a 0% budget, 0% increase. What would that do to your department if you were at zero?
Goodbye. I mean, it's just, there's no way. It's, you know, am I thrilled that I have to come and say, this is what we need to do staffing? But I think I explained it to you. I try to keep it as black and white and as easy as possible. You know, if we've got these calls, we have to pay for the staffing, we have to pay for the new tires on the one ambulance, okay? $325 for each front tire. That was just $700 one day, just for 2 tires on one rig.
And
So-
Donna, would you have to, the equipment that we purchased through American Relief Funds, do you consider that something we needed or a want?
Absolutely, no, it was not a want, not at all.
And
It was
would you
an
have-
absolute
Would you have had
need.
to put them in the budget?
Eventually, they probably would have been in
Yep.
the budget, absolutely. And it probably would have been sooner than later. You wouldn't have been as shocked with the increase in the staffing, because everything else would have been there too. You wouldn't have liked me.
Katie?
Oh, Donna, thank you, and thank you, you know, obviously, Art, thank you.
And I have Pam Spitzer, our treasurer, who puts
Yes,
a lot of
and Pam.
time and effort also.
So you commented about the number of calls and things, and the, I don't want to, like the slip and fall. So you were reimbursed how much for that?
Well, if we have.
Depending on their Medicare,
It-
Medicaid, right?
It depends. Most of
Yeah.
the older residents that we have, they're, I didn't realize until we really started looking at the facts and figures here, and most of them are all Medicare and Medicaid. I used to think everybody kind of had that, I don't know, it's United or something, that additional, and that
Yes,
paid for it.
right.
And that's not the way it is anymore. It's
So
like,
if I fell down at home,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, I'm young, you know, but my older husband, you know, wasn't able to get me up off the floor.
I understand.
So, you would send somebody.
Sure.
Just to make sure I'm not broken bones and
Yep.
all those things, but I'd say, no, all I need is, you know, get me up and stand me up. So that's a call that would cost you, whatever, 2 people have to go with each
Yeah, it
vehicle?
has to, because 2 people make up a legal
Right.
crew. We can't
Gas,
send-
maintenance, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yep.
And you would get from me my insurance card?
We would get your insurance
Right.
information, yes, because we
And-
have a billing company.
And my
which-
insurance might say, squadoosh, sorry, we don't cover this. So you hope I give you a donation at the
I
end
would
of the year.
return you to your house, Katie.
Exactly, right, and you can find it because I have the number that I got from your fundraiser, which maybe now I will take away. But my point I'm trying to make is, we are a town with an as you and I have discussed, increasing senior population. And that's not just seniors who have issues, you know, falling or whatever. But there are many runs that you make that you are nowhere near compensated for what it costs you. So you would say that without help, your building, you mentioned that, it needs repairs, right?
Yep.
How old is it? 10, 12?
12 years.
12 years, yeah. So without help from ARPA for some things and an increase, which, 0 is ridiculous, but, so you wouldn't be able to do what you do, which would mean that the town of New Milford would be a slip and fall town because we'd all be laying on the floor, right? That you would have to go with what? Some service, right? That we'd have to pay more than.
This is still what we have, and I'm very proud of it. What we have, our service, is people that really care. They go out there, they take care of the residents, they're invested in it. Even though we have a paid service, a lot of them are local people. So
Right.
they have that. They might be being paid to do it, but they've got a lot of emotion in the call because they themselves live here. And they get to know the people, I mean, first name basis, in the dark. It's happened to me. Someone, Donna, is that you? I'm going, they didn't even see me, but they recognized my voice.
Which reinforces that you have these calls more than once. So, yeah. Well, I just want to thank you, and I hope that people do understand that there's no such thing as a want. You and all of you there are in need.
We don't ask, there's no toys, there's nothing frivolous.
Right.
We are lean and mean, and, we've sat with the mayor. He sees what we have, what we bill, what we get, and it's black and white. There's nothing in there. There's no frills. We just want to keep going and be able to pay
We
our bills.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Yeah, Donna.
Sure.
Two-part question. What percentage of your calls are Medicare and Medicaid? And is there trend going up because of the demographic changes in town?
The answer to the first.
Ballpark, doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, we've got New Milford, the demographics, as far as people, elderly people over 60, it is, 63 or 65% of our, I'm going based on the run forms that we do, are people that are over 60 years of age, which is high. It's pretty
So
up
you'd say
there.
a majority of your calls are
Yeah.
Medicare and
We
or
yeah.
Medicaid?
Because most of the people over 60 are on Medicare and Medicaid. And like I said, the state tells us what we will bill. It tells everyone, whether you're volunteer or commercial. And in the wisdom of the state, they say, okay, I'm going to even it off. $1,000, that's what you will bill for that call. But yet Medicaid by the state will only pay $293 of it. You figure that one out. I can't.
Can you build the difference between what the
No.
insurance pays?
Nope, Medicaid,
Okay.
if that's all they're going to pay, that's all they're going to pay.
and
We have
that's-
some people that will offer up and say, we had a lady, I don't know if it's still going on, she insisted she was going to pay her bill, and she sent in $10 every month to pay that bill. That's what she wanted to do.
And the private insurance companies, commercial insurance companies?
Private is better, and also if it's an MVA, a car accident, then that gets put under the car insurance. That's usually much better paying, if they have car insurance.
Yeah. Thank you.
A lot of that.
Is the building holding up?
The building's holding up very well.
So-
We're full, we're packed.
Yeah.
Now we kind of wish we had maybe another 20,000 square feet for more bunk rooms.
Oh,
Because
really? Well,
we have,
yeah.
there's always four people that sleep there every night at
So you don't
minimum.
see any major repairs coming up?
No,
in
knock
the
on
next
wood,
few
Mary
years?
Jane.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
No, we just, through the funds, we just got the generator,
Right.
which was put in, it only
Yeah.
was in for heat. And in the summer, we went through a week one time with, it was tough, being in a building that you couldn't open any windows or anything. So now we can,
Oh, good,
and
yeah.
temporarily, we can do an EOC meeting in there too, which is really nice.
Great, that's great. Yeah, good.
Any other questions? Walter?
Donna, your EMS staffing, the $600,000 differential, what will that give us full-time as far as EMS staffing?
The 600. Well, this year, we're asking for the 1.2 for the professional
1.2.
staffing, yes.
Yeah.
And it gives me enough with what we get from billing, okay, that we make up the difference, obviously, to be able to pay for it. The total staffing cost is just under 2 million. Now, I also have, I probably couldn't find it really fast, but I know for a fact that, like, the town of New Fairfield has a contract with Nuvance to have an ALS. In other words, it's a rig that has a medic and an EMT in it. And I believe, Arnie, do you remember? No. I think it was $1.2 million contract with Nuvance to have one ambulance with a medic and an EMT.
Okay.
We have the cost of 1.9, I believe it is, for staffing, but we have 2 rigs 24/7, and we also have a medic for 12 hours a day. And at night, those 2 crews, in fact, I'll be riding tonight, I ride with a medic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it really is. We've done our due diligence, and I have to say that we're in a very good place.
Good, good.
Sal?
Thank you, Dana.
So then I just have a question, if I understand correctly, so the different people that are calling you, some of them have full insurance, let's say like myself works, and if I call, the insurance is gonna pay, I don't know, probably $1,500, whatever it's selling, because that's where you pay insurance. So how many of those people are like, in New Milford, like us, that pay the full insurance? Do you have any statistics, basically, how do you recoup?
I probably do, I have it somewhere,
A
I don't have it
ballpark,
handy.
between 10, 15-ish?
Maybe 10%, maybe 15,
10%.
maybe.
I understand. So now we have people that don't have that insurance, they have a lesser insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever. So that's 600, 400? What's the percentage of that?
Well, out of the total amount of calls, boy, you're making me think.
No, I'm just a ballpark, that's all it is.
And Donna, while you're looking that up or talking about that, just for those that are in the audience and those that are watching, when you talk about a medic,
A medic.
you're talking about a paramedic.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And the paramedic is the highest,
Yes,
just so everybody understands.
yes, paramedic is the highest level. He's the one that starts your IVs.
Yep.
He's the one that's going, well,
Right.
any of us can restart your heart,
Right.
so to speak, but he can use the big guns, so to speak. He can put you on the portable vent. They have a much higher, they go to college, they go to school, they go to medic school. An
When we talk that
EMT,
level of service you felt and the board felt, that's what we need here for
oh,
our,
wow.
for our
That-
municipality.
Yep.
And that puts us way ahead of
Yep.
other municipalities.
And like I say, and having that fly car, being able to get out there and everything has just been, we've been like, wow, that we get calls, you never know. It's always, to me, it's the surprise when you go out to a call and it's like, 64-year-old fell, and you're like, oh, okay, you're thinking you're gonna go in kind of, and then you're gonna go, well, she fell because she had a cardiac arrest, but her husband's standing next to her and doesn't realize that she's had a heart attack. I mean, unfortunately, those things happen, not all the time, but frequently enough that it's a real thing.
Yeah. You
So
have to
the-
prepare for the worst.
You do. You're always prepared. You never assume, because when we assume is when we get really surprised. So we never are. We're realists.
Mayor, I have a question.
Chris?
Yep, so Donna, thank you for everything you do and the other volunteers and have been doing it for years, as others have said. I think my question is more along the line where Walter Bear was going. On the EMS staffing increase, right? So a $600K increase for next year. Is the majority of that, and I know EMS, there's a huge shortage of,
Yes.
of paramedics.
Yes.
So is the majority of that increase because we're adding staff, or because the staff we have, we just need to pay more to keep them?
No, what really happened is this year, because starting from before COVID, when suddenly we didn't have volunteers riding or anything, we had to put paid people on. That's when we were like, whoa, we weren't expecting this, and we came to the town saying we need help, because all of a sudden we've got to put all this paid staffing on. And that's when it kind of wasn't very, I'm going to use the expression, very clear, for the simple reason that we got CARES money, we got United Way money, and we were getting these donations, and Pam, our treasurer, was very nicely piecing it all together, and she was hoarding money here and there to kind of keep us going. And then all of a sudden this year, all that ARPA, all that money stopped, and it was suddenly, this is what we bill, this is what we get, and this is our staffing cost. And we were like, well, this is what we need so we can pay the bill and have this service for the town. Does that answer it?
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much for the clarification, Donna. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Any other questions for Donna? Donna, thank you.
Oh,
thank
thank
you to
you.
the board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to everybody helping out. Thank you. Next is Chief Ceruto. Chief, in the New Milford Police Department.
Always good to be seen, Chief. Yes, always good to be seen. I love that line.
110 for everybody?
Right.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor,
Chief.
Town Council, Mr. Chairman, and Board of Finance. I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I also want to thank our public who I know is watching tonight. We appreciate all your support. And I also want to mention how much I respect the people behind me, the fire chiefs and their departments, and I want to thank you for your partnership, and the ambulance corps and their staff. Thank you very much for all you do for helping us. And I also want to introduce the staff I had with me tonight. Our command staff is very important to the progress that we make, and they are the ones that administer the department on a day-to-day basis. Our Deputy Chief Wilcoxon is our budget person. He's the one that keeps a close eye on things. He also oversees operations, and he has 30 years of service in law enforcement. Lieutenant Wheeler is an amazing asset, and he, as a matter of fact, completed 30 years of service here in New Milford as of yesterday. So I want to congratulate you and thank you. Lieutenant Grabner, with almost 29 years of service, an invaluable administrator. We want to thank you for your service. Nevertheless, I'm here tonight to talk to you about my goals, and my goals are to present you with a reasonable budget that provides quality services to our community, the quality services that they deserve and expect. The funds also allow me to provide our officers with the equipment that they need, the training that they need, so they can do their jobs safely. And I'm so proud to be here tonight representing the men and women of the New Milford Police Department, because they're the ones that really get the job done. Our budgets are planned for the safety and security of our community. It allows us to operate in a manner to keep crime low, to address concerns of the community such as drugs, traffic safety, and the safety of our community, including our children. It also allows us to continue our community policing efforts, which are the cornerstone in our philosophy of how we effectuate fair and impartial policing. The community policing partnerships include our Citizen Police Academy, our cadets, our car seat program, Coffees with a Cop, things such as that. We even instituted a community policing day last year. It's a very successful approach. I want our officers to be visible, accessible, and approachable. Our staff works hard every day and in very dangerous situations. And here are some of the ways that we help the community through our plan, the budget. As you can see here, we have some stats, and I compare 2022 to 2023 just to show you the amazing work that our officers are doing. Traffic safety is a major concern of ours in the community, and you can see that these accidents have come down over the year. In 2022, we had 940 accidents. In 2023, we had 909, and we're continuing to work very hard every day to try to bring those numbers down. We do that through enforcement, education. Obviously, there's other aspects such as personal responsibility and engineering. But our officers are doing their part through the enforcement and education aspect. You can see that infractions are up sharply over the last 2 years, almost doubled the number of infractions issued, which is an amazing amount of work, which is detailed in the next line, motor vehicle stops. You'll see 1,533 stops in 2022 and 2,335 stops in 2023. This year to date, we're almost at 600 stops, so we plan on surpassing these numbers by far. Today alone, our officers pulled over 21 vehicles on Route 7. Yesterday, our officers stopped a car going 94 miles an hour.
Get out of town.
It was a 19-year-old driving a work truck. Just an example, our officers are out there saving lives by doing things just like this. A simple motor vehicle stop is more than that. Stopping somebody like that prevented serious injury or death. And these officers are conducting dangerous work in these motor vehicle stops. The more stops they make, the more we have to enforce that they can't become complacent. They have to be cautious in their approach, and they have to handle this in a professional manner. JRBs, our Juvenile Review Board, is a very important resource in our community. It's a way that we divert juveniles away from the court system. In effect, instead of sending our juveniles to Waterbury, where it's a different world for them, we keep them in town and we deal with them with our Juvenile Review Board, which gives us an opportunity to monitor them closely here in town and help them in accordance with the way we feel that they should be helped. You can see that we're doing more and more work with the JRB, and those numbers are continuing to grow. The previous year, 19 referrals. This year, or in 23, 28 referrals, and those numbers are just growing and growing. We are a safe community. We're noted in studies as the 7th safest community in Connecticut, and one of the reasons is because of these declines. Larcenies have declined, criminal mischief is down, assaults are up, but drug overdoses have decreased. And I just want to mention, insofar as drug overdoses, this is no victory lap. We continue to put the pressure on our drug dealers. We have no tolerance for people that sell drugs in this community, but we're there to help those who are addicted, and we're there to provide them with services. If we can reduce the amount of drug dealers in this community, we can reduce the amount of crime in this community. This is a very interesting note. One robbery in the year 2022. That robbery was actually in January of 2022. As you can see, last year we had 0 robberies. So in effect, we haven't had a robbery since January of 2022. That's over 2 years. That's amazing. And the person that solved the last robbery, was a major part of solving that robbery, is Officer Brian Bolero, who sits behind me, who is also closing in on 25 years of service. So those are just examples of what our budget does for our community and how much we appreciate your support.
Chief, if you could also mention too, when you're talking about the statistics, we talk about domestic violence. And I know that you and I, when we have our weekly meetings, I know we're laser focused on really zero tolerance for domestic violence. I know with the community officer now, Officer Schneider.
Yes.
If you could talk a little bit to the council and those watching, really that interrelationship between the police department, which I think is stellar. We were one of the first in the state to really do this, to work with our social service team, senior center, youth agency. If you could talk a little bit about that.
Mayor, thank you. And collaboration and partnership is one way that we try to improve the services that we offer. We don't want to be a silo. We want to work together, and when we say it, we mean it. Our community outreach officer is in constant contact with those in social services, those services inside this community, outside this community. And one of the areas is domestic violence, and we have zero tolerance for people who commit acts of domestic violence within our community. We do more than the initial response. Our officers doing an excellent job at the initial response. They know what they have to do. They know they have to make an arrest, but it doesn't end with the arrest. We can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. We have to follow up. Our community outreach officer is notified when these incidents occurred. He interacts with social services. He interacts with victims, tries to provide them, the victims, with services. You know, when we arrest somebody and put them in jail, we take away the support for that family. Who's going to buy the groceries? Who's going to pay the rent? Who's going to pay the utilities? So we need to be cognizant of those things, because otherwise then the victim is victimized again. What do they do? And we need to be aware of that, and we just take it to the next level. So I hope that answered your question there.
And also, Chief, I know one thing I do love when we talk is the proactivity. And I know one thing, we do have some people that unfortunately become incarcerated. They do come out into our community. But one thing I know that you've been a lead on is that we're going to check on those individuals.
Yes, so when somebody's released from custody, we respect that fact, and we hope that they become model citizens moving forward. But we also realize that the recidivism rate is very high, particularly when it comes to sex offenders. So we want the sex offenders to know that they are being watched. We want them to know because, number one, it's mandated that they report, and we want to check on them to make sure they're reporting properly. But we want them to know that we know they're there. Our officers go out, knock on doors, and check on them, check to make sure they're in requirement, following the requirements of the law by reporting the proper addresses. And it's been a very successful program for us. We have found some out of compliance. We have found some in the process of using drugs in open view, and we were able to make an arrest. We have gotten into houses and found weapons, so it's been a very, very fruitful effort. We also do that with people who are on parole in our community. We keep track of the numbers of people and who's on patrol, what they're on parole for. And in addition, those who are on probation fall into the same realm, especially when it's a serious probation. So we do find that this intelligence and this approach is helpful in also reducing the propensity for crime.
Thank you, Chief.
So we've also worked very hard in our, I call it budget avoidance, and we've been really working hard to garner grants, particularly from the state of Connecticut. And here are just some examples of the grants that we got up here. Motor vehicle grant awards in 22-23 were about $75,000, and we really appreciated that, but we also recognized that we needed more because we need to do more for our community. And in 22-24, we've been able to garner almost $170,000 in grants. Now, the council was very helpful to us by providing us $30,000 to assist with our traffic enforcement, and that's been going very well. But this is going to allow us to double down on traffic enforcement. Now we've been focused on Danbury Road primarily. This is going to take us out into the rural roads where we also have a lot of complaints and a lot of citizens who feel that they need service also. So starting March 1st and through May 30th, we're going to be moving forward with a $60,000 speed enforcement grant. And that's going to allow us to address multiple areas within this community.
And Chief, when it comes to that actual grant, I have to thank you, because we were up talking to the DOT commissioner.
Yes.
Yourself, myself, Representative Buckby, Senator Harding, and Jack Healy from
Yes.
Public Works, as we were trying to address the traffic issues on Route 7 and some of the things we're working on with DOT. But you talked about the safety, and because of your thoughts, they had a program, which was the one that we're seeing here, that we're actually getting grant money from, that had been dormant.
Yes.
And they actually revived it, because of the efforts of the men and women in the Milford Police Department.
Yes, there's no doubt about it. The DOT commissioner said that we are a model for the state. I believe it, and I thank our officers for the hard work they do. And this grant hadn't been used in years, 5, 6 years, something to that effect. And we were able to resurrect that, and we were also able to guarantee them that we would use that money and we would be able to abide by their rules. So if you look a few lines down, you'll see infractions, again, almost a double number of infractions, but you'll also see the amount of fines that we issued within those years. In 2022, we issued $72,000 in fine. But look, in 2023, we over doubled that amount. So we issued $152,000 in fines, but look what the community got back, $167,000 in grants. So I think it all plays into this grant model. How much enforcement are we doing? How strict is the enforcement we're doing? And then they're more willing to obviously fund us because they trust us to do the job they want us to do. These are, again, just some examples we've already talked about. Motor vehicle stops, motor vehicle accidents, infractions issued, written warnings issued. You can see that the officers are still being very fair with the community. They're issuing infractions, but they're also being fair in the other half of the equation where they're educating people with a warning, for example. DUI arrests are down, and I see that as a good thing. I think it's good that there's less people out there drinking and driving or drugged driving. But we also have officers out there actively pursuing drunk drivers. We've made a few arrests in the last few weeks, and we're going to continue to focus on them also. Misdemeanor summons at the bottom line there, that's a very interesting topic. Misdemeanor summonses are issued when people are exceeding the speed limit by an exorbitant amount. You're going to get an infraction if you're going 10 or 15 over, but you're going to get a summons if you're going 20 or 30 or 40 over. So that person I mentioned to you yesterday got a summons. They have to appear in court, and we've even stressed to the court how important these prosecutions are to us. This slide just talks to the point of how important data is to us. We're a data-driven police department. Every day I get reports and statistics to show what kind of activity is going on in our community, not only what type of activity officers are doing, but what type of activity is occurring on different roads. So if I could draw your attention to the right side of the frame, that's our heat map, and our heat map here is just indicating the number of motor vehicle stops. So you can see all the motor vehicle stops in our community, and obviously where that color is more dark, that's where the most activity is, and you can see that's right around 202 and Danbury Road and Route 7.
And Chief, you'd mentioned about data, and how that data, whether it be the traffic signs that alert us to high rates of speed, whether it be to this, really this kind of a pad or a template that you're showing us here today. I'm assuming that comes from the next-gen system?
Yeah, so we've improved the data in over the last few years, and the data out has been amazing, and that's in total part due to our CAD RMS system, our reporting system. So a few years ago, we got this new system, and it brought us up into this century. It's a system.
Chief, we used surplus funds, I believe, for this next-gen system.
Yes, we did. So that was a very good use of it. It allowed us to improve our communications. It allowed us to improve our reporting system, which led us to things like this, which overall improves our operations. So
I know, Chief, when you came to the town council, we were looking for these funds. If we could kind of, again, for those that are watching on the video today, how really the return on the investment the next gen would be, because you had officers, if you needed some data, you'd have to have some of your officers, your command staff, it would take hours to retrieve the information that this system can get you in minutes.
Right, so effectiveness and efficiency is things that we always look to improve, and this is one of the things that brought us to that point. Efficiency, it gives us the information we need, it gives it to us at our fingertips, and it provides graphs that are just so much more detailed. On the effectiveness side, the officers, are safer with a system like this. Their MDTs provide them with information. They provide them with useful and important information at their fingertips. When an officer is processing a motor vehicle stop, let's say, the process goes a lot quicker and is more efficient, and that makes them more safer because they can keep their head up and focused on the vehicle in front of them and deal with the people rather than the paper. So the officers use their MDT, their computer in their car, to print out the ticket. So no longer is an officer sitting there with their head down writing a ticket. The printer prints the ticket, the officer rips it off the printer and walks up to the car and issues it. So all of that is interconnected. I just want to point out a few more things of interest. You can see this pie chart to the right. Talks about municipal residents, non-residents, residents. So in all of our motor vehicle stops, 2/3 are non-residents, 1/3 are residents. So a lot of people have surmised this, and I agree that most of the people who are speeding in this community are from outside this community, and this proves that. The chart, or the graph at the far bottom, talks about ages, and you can see I mentioned the 19-year-old, and you can see the 19-year-old, and above it you can see the 72. So 72 stops were 19-year-olds, and that's the highest propensity for speeding. You can see that the graph then declines after 55. It really drops down real
What's that
low.
blip sort of 2/3 of the way over to the right?
The blip is
says
49 stops at the age of 54.
54.
But after 55, you can see it drops right off. So,
So anybody here that's 54?
but very useful stats, and our officers appreciate that they can see the results of the work they do.
Yeah, that's wonderful statistics.
So I want to move along into our next slide, and this is recent community engagements. I also want to show you how the officers interact with the community. This is a very important part of what we do. In the top left, we have an officer with a Special Olympian, and we've really improved our relationship with the Special Olympics. You'll see some young boys stopping in the office to visit. You'll see our helicopter, and actually that picture was taken either just before or just after we went to review some flood damage in our community. Down in the bottom left, that's our newest officers, Officer Aileen Rodriguez, Officer Brandon Levesky. They're both in the academy. They're both doing very well in the academy. They're in about week 6 or 7, so they're progressing well. We expect them to be back to the PD around July 1st.
And I believe, Chief, isn't Officer, is it Rodriguez, maybe?
Officer Rodriguez on the left.
Isn't she a graduate of our
Yes,
senior?
as a matter of fact, that was an excellent success story. Community policing through our Citizen Police Academy got us a police recruit. So we're very happy to get our first recruit out of the Citizen Police Academy. We hope to also do that with our cadet program, which is growing. Our cadet program just got 2 new members, and we're very excited to be going to a competition in the spring. Nevertheless, the picture in the middle is our Shop with a Cop, very successful and growing program where we take kids at Christmas shopping in Walmart. Down below it is just a Ford Crown Vic, and we're sad to say we retired our last Ford Crown Vic within the last year. So we put that up there, and in hopes of resurrecting it, we saved one of our old Crown Vics, and we hope to turn it into a community policing vehicle where we'll be able to bring it out to different locations.
And Chief, speaking of vehicles, through our surplus use of funds for the last 3 years, we've been able to supplant, right, vehicle purchases.
Yes.
Right? So if you could talk a little bit about when you got here and we started talking about the need for our police vehicles, how important it is to have new vehicles.
Right.
And how that's helped to really create additional safety for our officers.
So at the onset of my presentation tonight, I talked about providing quality equipment so our officers can do their job safely, and those vehicles certainly are that type of equipment. Through various avenues, we've been able to improve our fleet to a very high standard. We don't keep vehicles on the road beyond their useful life, and we're able to replace them in a timely fashion. upcoming. I know I've been approved to purchase 2 vehicles, and we're going to be in the process of doing that. So we do appreciate the support in that area.
And Chief, holistically, all around, we hear in the news reports all the time, whether they be other towns here in Connecticut, nationally, about how it is very difficult to maintain, keep, or bring on police officers. But here in New Milford, right?
Yes, so...
If you could talk a little bit about how we're very successful here in recruitment and keeping staff.
Yep, so we talk about this every day. We work on it every day. I recently sent an officer to a training course on recruitment, and it's very important to us. I'm happy to say that we're fully staffed. We don't have the same problem that other departments have. I talk to chiefs from other departments who are down 10 or 15 constantly. They can never catch up, and when they get one, they lose one, and when they get one, they lose one. We haven't done that. We are fully staffed. We do appreciate it, and I do want to mention that one of the drivers in our budget this year is an ask for 1 additional officer. We have 48 approved, and we would like to ask for a 49th officer, primarily to focus on this traffic enforcement and traffic safety issue in the community. But nevertheless, we have not had a problem. We had interviews today, as a matter of fact. We had officers sitting in on oral boards with the recruits coming in. We found 2 or 3 excellent options today that we're going to take a second look at. So we have a lot to offer, and things that we have to offer other departments don't have. For example, we have a retirement plan. Some departments, matter of fact, almost half of them in Connecticut are 401ks or things that are different than a regular retirement. Besides that, we have a lot of opportunity. One of the opportunities you'll see up here on the board is our K-9 program. We have currently 2 K-9s, K-9 Ella and K-9 Mattis, both excellent K-9s of the best, and we are in the process of getting a 3rd K-9. So Mattis and Ella don't detect drugs. We need a good drug dog in this town. Like I said at the onset, we're going to go after drug dealers. We have 0 tolerance for drug dealers in this community, and we're going to get a drug K-9 who has the best nose for drugs so we can go after them whenever they pop their heads up. Now, the drug dog is not in the budget in a sense because we used a K-9 donation fund. So people have been kind enough to donate. This is one of our donation events up in Northville Market where people donate to our K-9 program. So we're able to purchase the dog, we're able to get the dog trained through the use of a donation fund. Again, budget avoidance. So we try to use multiple means to get what we need and do what we have to do to provide for the community. In closing, I just want to show you some of the strategic accomplishments that we've made. We've made a lot more than this. This is just some of the highlights that we have attained. This de-escalation simulator has been an awesome training aid. We had a call the other day. The call was up on...
American Relief Funds, Chief.
Yes, and
That's right,
an
American
excellent
Relief
use of those. Excellent use of those funds. We were up on a call,
And
and
that
the call...
brings us, Chief, I believe we're one of 2 or 3 in the whole state
Yep, so...
that has a de-escalation mission.
Yes, and the other 2 are a Hartford and a New Haven type agency. So it's an excellent tool.
Bang!
And I wanted
Milford's
to
got
use...
one.
We got one. And I wanted to use an example to explain how important de-escalation is. We had a call, and the call was the person wanted to commit suicide. The way they wanted to commit suicide was by police officer. So that's a very stressful situation. The officers got there, cordoned off the place. They protected the neighborhood, and they addressed the person who was suicidal. The way they addressed him was to de-escalate the situation. Sure enough, we found a gun. The handgun was loaded. And the officers were able to talk this person down. The officers were able to get this person to turn themselves in without any violence, and that was because of the de-escalation training that we do. And we do it with a simulator, we do it through policy, we do it through firearms training, we do it in a lot of different ways, but that was a really important point I wanted to make. Going on to the opposite side, awarded Tier 1 post accreditation. I was so proud of our officers, so proud of our staff for becoming an accredited police department, the first time in our 50-some-odd years of
Amazing.
existence
Really?
that we are now
Absolutely.
an accredited department.
For
It's
the first
amazing.
time?
First
Yes,
time ever.
yep.
Congrats.
It was attempted 20 or 30 years ago, but it just didn't come to be, but it did now. So we were approved in December. We will get our certificate in March, we expect. So very big accomplishment for the department. There are just so many things I can mention here. I do want to mention one more thing. Our schools are protected, well protected. That's a priority of mine and a priority of yours. Our schools are all protected by either an SRO or an SSO, which is a armed school security officer. And it's been working really well because of the partnership we have with the Board of Ed, the partnership we have with you, and you know, the officers do an excellent job in the schools. I feel that our children, the staff in the schools are very safe.
And Chief, if you could talk a little bit to the council and those watching on TV as well, because not only do you have your patrolmen and women, but you also have dispatch that dispatches those emergency calls, whether it be to the police department, the fire department, to the ambulance.
Yes.
I know Christine Walsh is the kind of the manager of that, you know, that part of your operations.
Yes.
I think they do a phenomenal job, and
So-
that's similar to all of the first responders. That's
Yes.
365, 24 hours a day.
Yeah, so when I talk about our team, I mean every single member of our team. We're 68 strong. We have 68 employees, 48 are sworn. The others are dispatchers, they're support staff, they're parking authorities. They're people who are all very important people. We are important all the way from the top, all the way down, and everybody makes a difference. Our dispatchers are behind the scenes and not often thanked, not often appreciated, but I mention them wherever I go because they're the first chain in the emergency chain, and quite frankly, I think they do an excellent job. They work under pressure well, they provide very important information to the officers, and I can't thank them enough for the job they do.
And Chief, we just approached it just a little bit, but I'd like to go a little bit deeper. When we talk about the use of the American relief funds that we've had, the de-escalation simulator that we've used, I believe also some gear and apparel that was needed for when we have unfortunate incidents, could be active shooter type issues, and then also we go to the use of the surplus funds, where we've bought numerous police cars. Just now, you're going to be able to purchase with the approval through a town meeting of much-needed electronic e-ticketing for the safety of the officers and to make the project more efficient. We also used a new payroll system that you guys use in there that's going to save tons and tons of time and return on investment. So I do pose a couple of questions. First of all, Chief, would these items be put in the budget if they were not being able to be approved by American relief funding and by the use of surplus funding?
Yes, they would.
And my next question that I pose to you is, obviously you and I sit down, the command staff too, you talk about the needs of the department. Were these all needs, or were these, as some people said, toys?
No, all needs. Anything we ever ask for is a need.
And lastly, for my last question, I'll defer to whoever's here. The budget itself went up $217,387.05, it looks like. So you had some people conjecturing that we should have zero budget increase. Zero. So my question is, if you were to go to a zero in your department, what would happen?
It would be a step backwards, and it would obviously lead to major problems with our community, could lead to crime problems. You know, the main driver in this budget is a 2% increase in our salaries. And our salaries are over 90% of our budget. And those are our human resources. And then those are our most important assets.
Absolutely.
Is the people who get the job done. So that 2.5% could never be avoided.
Thank you, Chief. And I can't thank you and all of our departments tonight for bringing to the council and to the Board of Finance, in my opinion, an extremely responsible budget that reacts to what the community needs. And I'll repeat that again. needs. Katie?
I had a resident, after we had our going through and approving one more time the 2 million and something, and I believe in there was the vests, the bulletproof vests.
Yes.
And the question this person asked me was, well, I mean, unless somebody shoots at them and it lands in the vest, can't they just use those for a very long time? And I said, okay, you have a vest, I happen to have one here tonight that I wear, you know, wintertime, fishing vests or whatever. Do they last a long time? Yeah, if you treat them right, yeah.
Yes.
But if I was gonna shoot somebody, if I was standing there and I was the policeman, I want a up-to-date, no lost in material that's inside or anything. I want it to be to save my life,
right.
correct?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that you've said a lot of things tonight about the needs that, as we've heard from the fire department, the ambulance. Without you, we would not be the 7th safest. We would not be a lot of things. The burglaries that have stopped, those kinds of things. I can't imagine thinking of a police department or a fire department or an ambulance as a place where they want a toy or something frivolous. That's just not how you think. You don't, and I can tell from my own experience, you do not get into the policeman business if you're frivolous, nor the fireman, nor the ambulance. So,
Walter?
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chief, we have some new members here and also the audience at home. Can you explain what the police private duty line is?
Good idea.
Yes, those are officers who work extra duty, so you'll see them out there flagging traffic, and a private company would hire them. So the phone company, the electric company, a private contractor would call the police department, request an officer. The officer would respond and direct traffic for them. A bill would be sent out to that company. The bill would include not only the cost of the officer, but then there would be a surcharge added. I believe it's approximately 30% surcharge. So the town bills them. It's not paid through or by the community or through our budget. It's billed out and it's revenue coming in.
So it's a full reimbursement for their time?
Yes.
Good.
Any other questions for the chief?
Yeah, this is Chris.
Chris?
Question. So, first of all, Chief, thank you and all the men and women of the Milford Police Department. I think it's you do a fabulous job.
Thank you.
And I want a couple things. One is when we look at the increase, right? The big one is patrolmen, and I think you've explained. I just want to make sure it's clear for everyone. Basically, you're adding one patrolman for traffic duty, which I fully support. And then the rest of that increase is just contractual increases, is that right?
Yes, those are the two major drivers.
Yep. And let me say, when we talk about the contractual increase, and you've talked a little bit about the environment, you're able to attract police officers to New Milford. And I think that speaks to the environment that you and the leadership have created there. And when we look at these increases, I think there was a recent, a new contract with the Patrolmen's Union, and I think it was a very fair contract. And I know Greg Valero was part of that as well. And so while this increase looks large, $120,000, I think it's very fair, and I think it's very cost effective for the citizens of New Milford. And I just really want to thank all of you for creating this environment that keeps us safe and allows police officers to do their job and do it respectfully. So thank you.
Thank you.
And, Chief, I think Councilman Cosgrove, piggybacking on him real quick, is when you and I have conversations to retain and to bring in the quality patrolmen that we all want and need to keep us the 7th safest, striving for 6 or 5 safest. They want to be able to know that they have cars that work.
Yes.
E-ticketing systems that do it. They have police vests that are going to stop a bullet. that they have ammunition and guns that work are top of the line, which the town, under your leadership and with the approval of town council and board of finance, approves these investments that make it so that people want to come to work for the police department in the Milford.
Yes, so I agree, we do seek the best. We've been hiring the best. Those that we don't hire end up going to other departments, in those departments that are bleeding. And our newer generation is looking for these tangibles. They're not so interested in the salary as much as they used to be. They're more interested in things like benefits and equipment and opportunities and appreciation and showing that an organization cares for them and that they matter. So it's a different generation, and we certainly have adjusted to that change.
And that's why for the first time in ever, you got an award. This department got an award.
Well, yeah, the accreditation is a
Yeah.
huge
Amazing.
accomplishment, and it's because of the way that we follow best standards within our
So there you go. That's just
profession.
one more.
Any other questions for the chief? Sal?
People are happy in their work.
Absolutely.
It's a good place.
Yep.
Excellent. Yes.
Sal?
I just have one comment actually to everybody, to the ambulance, fire department, and the chief. You guys are running awesome jobs. On the money getting, you're asking basically for the raise of the salaries and everything else. One of the things I want to point out in the presentation that was here, and the fact that the statistics, the stops, the 2,500 stops for CAD.
Yep.
The discussions that we're having in this town about Route 7, this, that, and everything else, all the Facebook nonsense. In that statistics, it says that most of the 2/3 of the stops are for the non-residents.
Correct.
Non-residents.
Yes.
Which means they're not from New Milford.
Correct.
So I just want to keep that open when we have this nonsense discussions online. Everybody's all of a sudden a policeman and an FBI agent and CIA and NSA. I have no clue what they're talking about. Those tanks are coming from outside of New Milford, not inside of the New Milford.
Exactly.
Most of them, I should say. And I don't know. It's just an awesome job.
Yep. Thank you.
That's why we're down we are basically of the guys that do the job. Thanks so much.
Any other questions for the chief? Chief, thank you. Thank you,
Thank
the
you,
men and
everyone.
women
Good
of the
night.
police department.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
And-
thank you.
And before we do anything else, there's public participation if anybody would like to speak to the joint meeting. And we have Mike.
Mike Sinello, 111 Willow Springs. I'll try to be as brief as I can. So just to there was questions brought up about the actual content, the presentations themselves, and being able to get greater access to that. So there's some things I want to just apprise everybody of when it comes to what's on YouTube, because there may not be the best knowledge of of every aspect of what's going on with this stream behind the scenes. So just real quickly, if you're watching on Facebook, there's live captioning provided by Facebook. It's imperfect, but that's what we can get for free live while we're going. YouTube does offer this service, but we don't have enough subscribers on YouTube, pardon me. We don't have enough subscribers on YouTube to qualify for YouTube's live caption service. The captions, for folks who are watching on YouTube, will be available when YouTube processes this video. Usually takes till about morning to do that. In addition to the actual captions, YouTube provides a transcript of every video. So after this video has been processed, which takes till about morning, go into the description of this video, and at the very bottom it will say show transcript. And it's a transcript of the entire meeting, which you can copy and paste, put into Word, print out, and then you have the whole thing. It's pretty close. YouTube's captioning after the fact is pretty close. It's not great. And it gives every yeah, everything. So one of the things that we could do if we wanted to qualify for those live captioning services, we need to get the subscribership up. So for those that are watching at home, basically everybody has a YouTube account whether they realize it or not. Everyone who has a Gmail account has a YouTube account because Google has set them up for that in the back end. Everyone who is using a Google Pixel has a YouTube account whether they realize it or not. Everyone who is watching this on Chrome, for all intents and purposes, is going to have a de facto YouTube account. Every one of you who are watching this can subscribe. Every one of you who are watching this can share so that we can get that greater subscribership and qualify for certain things that YouTube provides that we don't qualify for quite yet. So when you guys are watching this budget series, feel free to share the live stream links on YouTube that are on YouTube onto your Facebook pages, onto the town pages. I would encourage the mayor as we go through this process to share those videos. As I've also mentioned before, in the video's description of every video we ever put out is the agenda for that meeting. Sometimes that agenda isn't as readily available as folks might prefer. So when that happens to be the case, I upload that to Taylor Media's Google Drive account and I provide that link at least temporarily until things become more readily available. All of these videos are permanent. If you want to watch these videos for the content after the fact, there are lower thirds. For those watching at home, that's what this is. That's what this description is that says public comment right now, and it says the name of the meeting, the date. So if there's, say, all you really wanted to see was the police department made their presentation, there was something that you weren't quite sure about, you can just zoom through the video until it says police department, and then boom, there's your presentation. So those lower thirds are there. Those videos are permanent on YouTube, and I'm referring specifically to YouTube because that's just the easiest way to get to it. Is that time? All right.
So Mike, you're asking people to subscribe or to share?
And that helps us with the subscriber count and allows us to qualify for things that we don't qualify for yet.
Okay.
And the transcripts are in these videos if you want to have access to a verbatim.
Thank
you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
Walter's here.
Walter. Recess. Motion to
Recess. There you go. Motion to recess.
Second.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
And a town council motion to recess.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
And we'll be
Chris.
back tomorrow. We'll be back
Thank you,
tomorrow night.
Chris.